When I was growing up, my mother was very devout, and I guess I've always believed, but I always had a hard time understanding God the Father. I always felt like I had to earn love. When I had just turned 16, I was actually molested. Instead of reporting it or trying to get any kind of help, every adult that knew about it kind of swept it under the rug. I identified as someone that did something wrong. After having my daughter, I realized as a mother that there's no way I would ever let something like that happen to my child and not do something. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go be the person that every adult in my life should have been for me. After giving my statement to the policeman, he said, call back in 2 weeks with this case number. The DA is not going to take your case because there's nothing here. We can't track any of this. There's no evidence, but we'll still submit it. And I walked out of there feeling good, like I had done good for myself. 2 days later, the detective called and said the DA was taking my case. He told me that 2 days before I had reported him, someone else had come forward and reported the same man for an incident that took place 20 years ago. And the DA thought that that was enough coincidence to look into it. When I heard that someone else had come forward, I got chills all over, and I thought, that's not true. Something is wrong here. There's no way that could have happened. That has to be God's timing. I carried my diaries around with me for 20 years, wondering why I never threw them away. But I was able to submit it as evidence, and it was enough to get a warrant for his arrest and got 10 years in prison. I thought, okay, God, you have proven that you are working in my life. I'm gonna find a church. I was at the hospital and I heard someone go into a patient room and introduce himself as a pastor from Church Project. So I spoke to him and he invited me to an 11 o'clock service they were having. And it was Dave Edwards giving a sermon about the fatherhood of Joseph and him raising Jesus. And I just really felt I had chosen right. I started reading through the Gospels like it was the first time. I was driving in the car one day and I just had this overwhelming thought of how much I love my children. And it just clicked for me that God loves us as a father. And that shifted my whole perspective. And I finally thought, oh, God loves us like this and infinitely more. And all of the fear that I had about not doing well enough, not being good enough, dissipated, and it hasn't come back. I know that I'm good enough because Jesus says so, because I believe in him.